Long time ago, I can still remember when the music used to make me smile. There was an album that struck a chord to someone. That's me. And not just me, to several others who were rocking those emo bangs, to those who tried to identify and found temporary solace to anti-pop bands like My Chemical Romance, Panic at the Disco, or for my sake, The Killers.
Coming out of my cage and I've been doing just fine.
As Britney and Christina, now branded as Xtina by the way, at this time went on to do their erotica phase. Nobody wanted them. Nobody wanted this much drama in music.
If they're going to worry about, children and what children shouldn't see, I think they should address all issues on TV. I think there's a lot of violence on television as well. And there's a lot of hypocrisy about beating up on Janet Jackson and not a lot of other things that children have access to.
But alas, Madonna graced us with her presence, with her strawberry blonde hair, weenie disco rolls, sparkling eyelashes, and an album that defied time. Because Warner told her to do so.
I'm just complying.
Jokes aside, Madonna could arguably be the one reason for the death of pop in the early 2000s with her kiss of death at the VMAs, or her decision to go all out as the first pop artist to fully come out with a protest album post 9/11 called American Life. When it turns out it wasn't really a protest album, leaving everyone confused, then retaliated a bit by pulling the original music video for American Life to protect her family and avoid the same fate as the Dixie Chicks.
We're ashamed of President of the United States.
That's essentially the video that I never got to release because it came out during when the war in Iraq started. Truly understand the mess that we've made.
But alas, the damage was done. American Life was Madonna's first album that failed to produce a top 10 hit in the US, something that she's been doing since her debut album in 1983, a sign to which many thought that this marked the demarcation of her music career. To Madonna, this truly was the day.
The music died.
Madonna retreated to her palace in London and continued life as Mrs. Ritchie and thought, if I had my chance,
I could make those people dance and maybe they'd be happy for a while.
Woke up one day sometime in 2004 and thought of the uncanny.
I
want to dance
I'm back in a bikini. Come on.
Whoops, wrong clip.
I just want to have fun. I want to dance. I want to feel buoyant.
In this multi-part series, we will go through the complete history of the album's composition, the known stories and the unknown stories, its impact on release, the rumored radio ban, the promotions, the tour.
That was not a song about sex. That was a song about survival.
And its true legacy in the music industry 20 years later after its release. My name is Sergio, and this is the 20th anniversary special of Madonna's Confessions on a Dance Floor. Our story begins way back, mainly because thoughts for a disco-inspired album wouldn't come up soon during the American Life era. Madonna had other projects in the works, one of which was a period musical about a silent film star that marks the first timeline of the album's inception.
I am the biggest sucker in the world.
And since we're traveling back in time, I'm going to be traveling around the world for this one. While promoting her album American Life, Madonna sat down with W Magazine for their April 2003 cover story. She confirms on top of American Life, she's currently working on a biopic musical to which later revealed to be an original screenplay extravaganza to be directed by Scott Elliott, with producers Barbara DeFina and Martin Scorsese as executive producer. Scott Elliott, still new to film, was a veteran theater director who had a number of Broadway shows under his belt. Thus, the musical direction was fitting for the upcoming biopic. The title was Hello Suckers, a biopic about the life of the turn of the century, mistress of Reinvention, Texas Guinan.
Texas, queen of the nightclubs in Gangdom's heyday. She trimmed the suckers and made 'em love it.
known for working up the ladder from showgirl to Broadway star, and from silver screen to the nightclub queen, or the other way around. After all, the 1945 classic Incendiary Blonde features Betty Hutton playing Texas, and if you've known Madonna, you'll know she's a big Betty Hutton fan. I mean, Papa don't preach.
Now, Papa, don't preach to me, preach to me, Papa, don't preach to me.
Papa don't preach, I'm in trouble, dear. Papa don't preach.
The entire story of Hello Suckers will be based on Berliner's book, Queen of the Nightclubs. News about the biopic can be tracked in the early 2000s when the rights were still being negotiated, then later bought by Maverick Films in 2001. Courtney Love was originally thought for the lead role, but was later dropped for unknown reasons.
It's also...
Hi, Courtney. Well, come up.
Courtney Love is in dire need of attention right now.
Madonna at that time was still one of the main shareholders of Maverick Records, the music company she and Frederick the Man and Veronica Deschev started back in 1992.
Freddie,
Yes, ma'am.
you lied to me.
What did I lie to you about?
There was nothing but industry in the first couple of rows.
I know, I didn't like what
And
I saw.
I swear to God, do something else. Do my eyebrows.
With the film rights at hand and in need of a lead, the company considered one of their founders for the lead role, the mistress of reinvention of the silent film era played by the queen of reinvention herself. By the end of summer, Madonna had been working with American Life producer Mirwais and her brother-in-law Joe Henry on a number of songs for the musical project.
Hold on, they keep on telling me something good's gonna come.
By October 2003, Madonna started working with Luc Besson, who's directing her music video for Love Profusion. During shoots, Madonna pitches a stage musical concept to Besson with her as the lead. Portraying a woman on her deathbed looking back on her life she thought she had lived, but due to senility and amnesia, didn't actually experience any of it. This eventually transpired to the woman time traveling into different eras of her life. One of the eras was a disco segment with a futuristic club vibe, which was potentially a homage to Besson's futuristic sci-fi flick, The Fifth Element. As for the inspiration behind the story of the musical, allow me to theorize on the potential source of this woman on her deathbed and time-traveling storyline, as the combination is pretty wild. This would have been linked to a rumor that was reported early 2005 that was later revealed to have some legs between two credible sources and ended up being true. The rumor goes that Madonna was interested in playing Andy Warhol's muse Candy Darling in a film.
Hi, I'm Candy Darling. Hi, I'm Madonna.
While the project never materialized, it generated buzz and highlighted the singer's interest in the story. Upon Madonna's research about Candy Darling, she probably stumbled on this image of Candy on her deathbed that's photographed by Peter Hujar. And I guarantee you that Madonna is aware of Peter Hujar's work and photographs of life in New York. This looks familiar. But some years later, we get these clips from Hollywood Hall talking about Madonna financing the film version of her book, A Low Life in High Heels.
Madonna wants to play you.
Oh, yes, we're negotiating right now with Madonna and Pedro Almodovar. She doesn't want to play me, thank God, so I can play myself.
Oh, you'll play yourself?
She wants to play Candy Darling, another one of the Warhol. There were like 3 Warhol transsexual movie stars, and Candy Darling was the blonde.
This and Harvey Feinstein going on record that he pitched the idea to Madonna back in 1991 about playing Warhol's muse. Now, in my opinion, this was the early 90s, and there were a couple of studios who are planning on producing films featuring trans and drag characters, marketing to the LGBTQ community, whilst appealing this fresh new league of characters to the masses. Unfortunately, nothing came out after these talks, mainly due to rights and producer conflicts, leaving it in limbo long enough for movies to Wong Fu and The Birdcage to steal its thunder.
We have a tie!
Oh my God. What do you mean tie?
Afterwards, it was deemed a hard sell, plus Madonna had already shifted interest to doing Evita.
Michael Cato, Madonna, Madonna, Madonna.
But you keep it all inside.
I guess you can argue that some of Madonna's Confessions look has some Candy Darling flair to it, and perhaps some of that Candy inspiration or similarities lingers here and there throughout Madonna's career.
Because you don't wear a bra. Do you have a bra?
Yeah.
It still moves.
Anywho, let's move on. The two musical projects would have been Madonna's backup albums with Warner before her contract expires. She still owes them a number of albums and a compilation record to which the company still has to manage. And the stress doesn't stop from there. Now, before we move on to this next chapter, I'd like to preface that the chronological order of these events are sourced by multiple articles and interviews all documented between 2004 to 2024, and not just the Song Exploder interview alone that came out in 2023. So I try to account everyone's story here and place them in order, especially the Rolling Stones cover story, which was one of the earliest interviews for this album. By March 2004, Madonna filed suit against Warner Music Group and Time Warner, claiming the mismanagement of resources and poor bookkeeping of Maverick Records, to which led to the company's decline in commercial fortunes. Warner in return filed a countersuit alleging that Maverick had lost millions of dollars on its own. The dispute won't be resolved until later on June 14th, to which Maverick shares owned by Madonna and the Chev were purchased, which effectively exiled the two from the company.
You don't think I'm overexposed, do you?
With the two gone, Maverick is now a fully owned subsidiary of Warner Music Group. Soured after getting bought out, Madonna has expressed her interest to leave Warner once her contract has ended. Her exclusion from Maverick puts the biopic on thin ice with the lack of proper management and direction.
You know what that was?
Yeah,
that was just a joke.
That was... Well, I was waiting for the punchline.
Oh, well...
The biopic was more of a double-edged sword for Madonna, an opportunity to redeem herself from her poor acting record. With Evita still considered by most critics to be her best. But at the same time, the biopic could fail and be heavily criticized, ultimately ending her acting career.
How soon the lights were gone.
By May 2004, Madonna embarks on her Reinvention tour in support of her American Life album.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
So are we talking old stuff and new stuff?
We're talking old and new.
Okay, because I know like in the past, you focused on doing your more current stuff, you know, where you were at that point in your life, and you kind of resisted the old stuff, but we're going to combine the two and get the best of both worlds.
Yeah, I'm going to be doing songs from my entire career.
Okay, terrific.
To many, this was considered as Madonna's first greatest hits tour, as it comprised 17 Madonna classic hits from her debut album to music, while only covering 6 songs from her American Life album. With her on stage is her music director and keyboard player, Stuart Price. If you don't know who Stuart Price is, well, this is the perfect time to introduce to you a very important key player in this era.
Stuart, please. Thank you. I couldn't have done it without you.
Stuart David Price was actually born in Paris, France, but grew up in Reading, England. His music career started with 2 acts working simultaneously. One with his electronic band Zoot Woman, a British electronic band under London-based label Wall of Sound, and second as a solo artist under the pseudonym Jacques Leconte, a name stemming from his Parisian roots, to which he produced his self-titled album, Le Rythme Digital.
My name is Jacques Leconte, and I am Le Rythme Digital.
Yes, an album under a pseudonym of a pseudonym. Oy. He will continue to juggle between 2 electronic groups focusing on British electronic music and French house music while remixing with 80s disco fusion. His label advised him one time that French artist Mirwais is releasing new material and if he wanted to remix it. Stuart happened to be in Paris at that time and met with Mirwais, and the two clicked right away. A few months later, Mirwais called Stuart to tell him that he produced Madonna's new album, Music, and that there's plans on doing a world tour for it. He asked Stuart if he could join as their keyboard player. Stuart said yes to the offer and flew to LA to work for the Queen of Pop. It is important to note the hiring of other band members from this tour, as they too will be continuing to work with Madonna during the Confessions era. And they are Madonna's guitar teacher Monte Pittman,
I was just with 7 women last night.
Steve Sidelink for drums, and Marcus Brown for keyboards. Stuart, Marcus, and Steve all hail from the UK and kept Madonna grounded with English vibes, on top of being married to an Englishman that eventually led her to develop to what many would consider her fake British accent.
I hadn't quite adjusted to the tabloids, but now I've got the hang of it.
During the planning stages of the Drowned World Tour in LA, the group was struggling with the musical direction. So Madonna turned to Stuart and asked, "As you understand electronic music, can you help with the directions of the show?"
And then Stuart stepped up to the plate and he became my musical director. And then since then, we've just been writing songs together and collaborating on stuff. And it's been a great musical relationship.
And that's basically what happened there. Stuart took over the position of programmer and music director while on stage with Madonna as her keyboard player. But what Stuart excels at and mostly known for is incorporating classic disco tracks and seamlessly fuse them into Madonna's dance hits. Here's his remix of Holiday while fusing Stardust's Music Sounds Better With You that interpolates Chaka Khan's Fate.
You can turn this world around, just turn it around and bring back all of those happy days. One time.
Remember these two samples, they will come back later. Stuart's role as music director continues for the next tour, and this time he doesn't hold back with the remixes and new renditions of Madonna's classic hits to the point that all of them sound new and improved over the original. My personal favorite are Bedtime Stories and his incorporation of Cosmos's Take Me With You to Madonna's Papa Don't Preach. If Madonna was looking for a connection to the progressive house scene, Stuart was that guy, who not only had knowledge of upcoming electronic dance music, but had the talents to produce them. Now that we have covered Stuart's origins, it's time to go to New York. During the soundchecks of the Reinvention tour in Madison Square Garden, Madonna and Stuart Price started drafting the lyrics and composition for a song called I Love New York. Though the track seemed to flow as an extension to I'm Stupid,
I'm so stupid.
It would later find its voice after Madonna and Price encountered the Stooges performing I Wanna Be Your Dog at Slane Castle in August 29th. I Love New York would have been a fitting entry to the Candy Darling-inspired musical project, as Candy Darling's story shares the same vein as Madonna's creative upbringing in New York City.
And Hung Up and I Love New York were the songs we'd written for that script.
On September 14, 2004, the final show of the Reinvention tour took place in Lisbon, Portugal. Around this month, news has been circling around about Pat Leonard and Joe Henry's involvement with Madonna's musical project. It was also rumored that the Push Mode songwriter Martin Gore to have been involved with a few demos produced. Well, portions of that rumor turned out to be true because of the following events that happened.
Alright, let's talk disco. After working on the blueprint for Hello Suckers, and remember this is still during the time when they had Maverick, the lack of complete staff and direction discouraged Madonna, decided to drop out from the project and revisit her other musical project with Bassan. You know, the time-traveling one with the Candy Darling aesthetic?
Madonna gathered her best team to collaborate with for the musical, namely Patrick Leonard, Mirwais Ahmadzai, and Stuart Price. Based on how the musical was structured, Stuart was asked to write songs for the disco segment of the musical. According to Madonna, I had to write music from the 20s, big band stuff from the 40s, and 60s folk music a la Joni Mitchell, some punk, and music from now. This led to Madonna and Stuart working on Hung Up, one of the first songs they have written for the unnamed musical.
For Hung Up, Price was eager to use the iconic loop from ABBA's Gimme 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 A Man After Midnight for the disco segment of the musical. Madonna wanted that section to sound somewhere in between Danceteria, Studio 54, and ABBA on drugs.
During one of their work sessions at Stuart's flat in Sherlyn Road, Maida Vale, Madonna asked Stuart, "Do you have anything that's like ABBA at Studio 54? In his interview with Music Week, Stuart Price recalls how he stumbles upon using ABBA's golden hit. 6 months beforehand, Stuart was a DJ at a club in Liverpool called The Mask at the Chibuku Shake Shake night. Around 5 a.m. on the M1, Radio 2 was on. ABBA's Gimme 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 started playing. And in that dream state in the early morning,
and I thought, oh, I better try and slap something together with that.
So just before he went up to play Chibuku again, he quickly hacked the sample into a track that he could play in his DJ set. It was immediate. The whole room felt pretty special. He played it for the next couple of months, but like most DJs, he wore out his records and moved on. So when Madonna mentioned ABBA, he suddenly went, well, there is one thing. Stuart played his remix of the ABBA sample with a modified 120 BPM to Madonna. To Stuart's surprise, Madonna started coming up with the lyrics upon listening and sang the chorus. It happened that quickly, as Stuart recalled. So Stuart recorded Madonna right away during these sessions. His setup around this time includes a white couch that Madonna has frequently mentioned to have passed out due to how comfortable it was.
And it had a white couch in it that I would often have nervous breakdowns on.
I remember you sort of had to sit there kind of a little bit awkwardly with the microphone in your hand, and then you would sort of lean forward and we would do the vocals that way.
And the now known cheap microphone Rode NT2, which is an entry mic for most recording artists in the 90s that is relatively cheap in cost compared to other studio mics Madonna has used for her other albums, which is the exact same microphone I'm using right now to record my audio.
Waiting for your call, baby, night and day. I'm fed up. I'm tired of waiting on you.
The cozy setup helped Madonna produce and write songs with ease. A very similar scenario from her early years, especially when she was recording for Into the Groove, to which Stephen Bray used a Shure 58 microphone to record her vocals while they were all housed inside a low-budget apartment.
Tonight I wanna dance with someone else.
Production and lyrics for the demo of Hung Up took 3 days after listening to Stuart's ABBA rendition. Madonna sang the entirety of Hung Up in one take, and this includes her take for the backing vocals, which was filtered with a vocoder to further emphasize the disco vibe ritual.
I'm hung up on you. Waiting for your call, baby, night and day. I'm fed up.
The demo vocals would eventually be used for the final mix of the album. According to Madonna, Hung Up was written as a love song. And I say love song in quotations here because Hung Up incorporates a line from her 1989 track with Prince. If you're wondering how she was able to write that fast about someone waiting for a callback, we'll come back to that. This shit gets interesting later.
According to Madonna, the process behind Hung Up was instant and a divine inspiration, which led her to wanting to make a dance record for her next studio album.
I wrote the lyrics very quickly, and it was like instant divine inspiration, you know what I mean? And it just clicked, and I thought, okay, this is the direction of my record. I want to make a dance record.
Now, to simply close the story of the Besson musical, Madonna states, I made my own research book, and I had tons of reference material. But when I got the script, it was 300 pages long, and I was really not happy with it. It wasn't what I wanted it to be. It just wasn't. It's safe to say at this point, you don't hand Madonna a 300-page script and expect her to read all of that. That's all fine though. Besson was sidetracked by another project that he's been working on for 5 years that kept him busy. And that project was Arthur and the Minimoys, to which Madonna would lend her voice sometime in 2005 for the recording.
The task of protecting our people falls to me.
My little girl.
Coincidentally, Madonna found herself dissatisfied with Besson's script for the musical and axed the project in the end. There was just one more hurdle, Hung Up's completion. The rights for the ABBA song were needed to keep the song as is.
Madonna sent her representative to Stockholm with a letter to Benny and Bjorn for their approval and blessing to use the sample.
No, this is gimme. Did you ever think that was going to be in a Madonna song? What the hell? Well, she asked us so nicely. Did she? Through 7-5 lawyers? Or actually? No. Herself. And she did? What'd she say? Hi, this is Madonna? No, there was a nice little letter.
By the end of October, Stuart Price was chosen as lead producer for the next album, granting overall direction alongside Madonna. Mirwais was also reported to be producing for the next album. However, it was later confirmed that his involvement is limited due to the change of direction where the album was headed. Around this time, Madonna and Price would continue to work at Stuart's flat in Maida Vale and listen to more 70s and 80s dance hits that would eventually lead to the compositions of Sorry. Madonna would also bring forth previous materials and demos she has worked in the past years to be considered for recording at Stuart's flat. This led to them producing the track Jump, a song that Madonna wrote with her brother-in-law Joe Henry. One of the notable hooks from Confessions will be the use of signature bass lines from famous disco tracks. Here are the samples for Sorry, Jump, and Future Lovers. Jump's bassline actually draws some inspiration from a Luc Besson movie called District B13. Which coincidentally was one of the first films to introduce the aerial sport parkour, starring the sport's founder, David Bell. The other movie to feature this sport was Casino Royale that was filmed in 2005 and featured its co-founder, Sebastian Foucan. Foucan would eventually get the offer to join Madonna for her music video and then later for the tour. Just laying it out there to get a better understanding on how Madonna got exposed to the sport and inspiration for the title.
Music news.
Now let's get back to them making music. It is believed that Future Lovers was also written around this time. In fact, earlier according to Attitude magazine's interview with Madonna. But Future Lovers was nowhere to be seen in the early demo submissions of the album during the first quarter of 2005, especially since Future Lovers was written with Merways and its recording were done in Mayfair Studios and not at Stuart's flat. So unless this was an error from Madonna's recollection of first tracks that were written, or the song wasn't ready for submission during the first quarter of 2005. Anyways, around this time, the following tracks will also be produced: Push and Forbidden Love. There's also the early version of I Love New York and History, Land of the Free, the two songs that Madonna and Stuart wrote while on the road during the Reinvention tour, and a couple of Madonna and Merway songs that were possibly from the Hello Suckers working sessions. These songs were the first version of Super Pop titled Funny Game and the instrumentals for Fighting Spirit. It is important to note that during these sessions, Stuart and Madonna were also working on the edits of the documentary I'm Going to Tell You a Secret, which chronicles the events and backstage moments following Madonna on her Reinvention tour, which all ends to Madonna visiting Rachel's tomb on the outskirts of Bethlehem and offers her prayers. Sometime in early December, Madonna met Ishtak Sinwani at the Kabbalah Center she visits in London. Ishtak, who just recently moved to London, was invited to sing during one of their traditional Shabbat dinners one Friday night. An impressed Madonna later inquired if he was available to lend his vocals for her next album. Sinwani agreed and worked with Stuart to record his vocals. He sang portions of the Yemenite Hebrew poem Imini Nalu during the recording sessions. Sinwani left a remarkable impression as all recordings of his vocals were done in one single take. Madonna dedicated the song to and named it after Sinwani after struggling to come up with a title. The song Isaac was possibly considered initially for the documentary I'm Going to Tell You a Secret as a bonus track and as background music during Madonna's pilgrimage. Isaac was noted by critics not for its name but for its odd entry as it disrupts the upbeat tempo of the entire album with its heavy orchestration. Between November and December, the bulk of the album was formed. Its launch would be her ultimate comeback after American Life was panned by many as her weakest album to date. A backlash that's mainly attributed to the album's brand image. We're going to Disney World right now. By January 11, 2005, Madonna.com confirms that Madonna will be performing during NBC's Tsunami Aid. Her cover of John Lennon's Imagine was chosen to perform for the broadcast.
All the
Stuart Price, on the other hand, was scheduled to play at Sydney's Good Vibration Festival on February 12th. The SDP extended dub version of Hung Up with no vocals was played as part of his setlist. Stuart called Madonna to get the crowd's reaction while Hung Up was being played for the first time.
And just kind of dialed the phone and held it there for like 7 minutes because that's how long it was at that time.
And everybody went mad.
While it's unknown to the public at that time that this was to be Madonna's Hung Up, Stuart confirmed in a later interview that he was indeed working on new music with Madonna, and possibly working on the track I Love New York that Madonna played a snippet of during her Reinvention tour, which leads us to this rumor.
Victoria Newton of the Sun paper reported that Madonna is heading in a new direction on her next album, citing she'll be ditching dance-flavored tracks in favor of a more rocking sound, citing British rock bands such as Franz Ferdinand and the group The Darkness as inspiration samples for the direction. I Love New York was further reported to be part of the new album, with its rock-sounding roots and composition was assisted by Madonna's on-the-road guitarist and teacher Monte Pittman. On top of this, the only known track that Madonna has performed off her American Life album is her cover of John Lennon's soft rock hit Imagine, which led to the idea of the next album's direction.
Now, it would make sense for Madonna to take a step back from dance and electronic music and produce something close to mainstream at that time, such as garage rock. Basically rock with a flair of punk that was taking over the charts in the early 2000s. Although the genre may have passed its prime in 2005, it's not like her to follow the herd.
There's a rock album rumor that was going around for a while. Was that just never in the cards?
No, I never said that.
In the end, the rock album direction was nothing more but a speculation. And now, it's time for me to take a power nap.
It is February 13th, and Britney Spears wins her first and only Grammy to date for Toxic. And the winners, its writers and producers, Swedish duo Bloodshy and Lament, were not in attendance. The reason? They were simply writing songs for Madonna.
Let the games begin.
So let's rewind a bit to introduce the other Swedish producers other than ABBA that's joining this era.
You okay?
Yeah, good. I'm fine.
Already? We're spinning?
Madonna's team reached out to Merlin Music Group to connect with the Swedish duo sometime in late 2004.
So how come you chose Bloodshy and Lament?
Because I liked the records they did with other people.
I heard some rumors about that one of your children was listening to their songs.
Yeah.
Which one?
My daughter was listening to Rachel Stevens.
Sweet dreams, my LAX.
Her album, and also Britney Spears. And they both worked on tracks for both, for those girls, both of their records. And I thought they were really catchy and danceable, and I liked them, so I wanted to work with them.
As Christian recalls, Madonna herself called me. I was at the beach in Thailand when my cell phone rang, and it was her. I can't even explain how unreal it felt to stand there with Madonna on the line. We've hardly began working on a song yet, so we've got no idea when the song will be released or what will become of it. Our goal is to give her a real dance floor filler.
At this time, the duo most likely started working on the drafts given by Madonna for How High and Like It or Not. It is speculated that Bloodshy provided the early dub versions of the tracks and labeled them as
Lester and Snooker Crunk respectively, as these later appeared on his MySpace page a year after. Merlin Music Group founder Anders Bagge and his partner Pierre Astrom took this opportunity after Madonna's team connected with them to submit a few demo tracks for Madonna to consider. Now in the zone to work with more Swedish producers, this would eventually lead to them drafting Get Together. My guess is that Madonna briefed Bagge and Pierre to produce something that's Marauder inspired, and the duo ended up composing something that interpolates the bass line of I Feel Love. Madonna liked it, and sometime between February and March of 2005, she flew to Stockholm and recorded the vocals for all three songs at Merlin Studios: Get Together, Like It or Not, and How High.
Come on over, can we get together? I really wanna be with you. I
However, I believe the narrative she shared from Song Explorer that she went to visit Benny and Bjorn personally in addition to writing the letter to get their approval. This does end up being confirmed by Benny Andersson that she indeed visited Stockholm with the demo recording of Hung Up for them to listen to.
How can we say yes to this unless we hear the song?
Ooh,
so she came over with the record. We listened to it. Was a great record. It is a good recording. That
Hung Up.
It is.
Really. And she came over where? To Sweden?
Yeah. So sure. So we said, yeah, fine. So she could use it. Yeah.
After Madonna's song and dance to Benny and Bjorn, the approval was granted. Speaking of the demo, it is time to discuss the first known demo CD. This date wouldn't later resurface until early summer of 2020 when a Madonna collector got a hold of a copy of the dated demo and sold it on eBay for approximately $1,500. Members from the forum group Madonna Infinity, including me, cooperated to cover for the expense from the bidding winner, with any excess or voluntary funds encouraged to be transacted as donations to the winner's charity of choice. Madonna and Price may have possibly sent this demo CD to Warner as a rough draft to get a sense of the album's direction while still in production. In this demo, you can hear the early stages of the songs listed here, all unmixed. Now, I can go on for hours detailing the difference between the demos and the final mix of the album, but instead, here are a few samples you can listen to while I detail the difference in bullet points.
No time to hesitate. Those who run seem to have all the fun. No time to hesitate. Those who run seem to have all the fun. But it'll be too late. But it'll be too late. The lonely days are gone. I'm finally moving on. I don't wanna hear those words again.
Madonna would later confirm that Sorry had the most revisions and took the longest time to finish, given the rearrangement heard from the demos in contrast to the final version from the album. Sometime in April, Madonna is seen visiting Mayfair Studios in North London with reports of the album being complete. It is presumed that Future Lovers was recorded at this time, written earlier but recorded later. By May, Madonna continued to share more tracks to Warner to review under a working album title called, get this, Defying Gravity. Not to be confused with Wicked's Defying Gravity. This title was likely chosen as a placeholder due to it being a spiritual term in Kabbalah. I'm pretty sure we all thought of this moment from Medina when we first heard about this news, since Wicked the Musical was just over a year old back in 2005. On May 31st, Madonna's website confirms her participation in Live 8, the benefit concert on July 2nd to the 8th, scheduled to precede the G8 conference and summit that's held in Scotland. The concert reinforced the call, Make Poverty History, for politicians to pursue and take action towards. On June 5th, a full album is shared to Warner, with the intended story of having no breaks or stops, as 3 groups of tracks demonstrate how one song transitions to another.
You'll never see.
The biggest updates here were the new renditions to I Love New York that's close to the final mix of the album. Funny Game, now titled Super Pop. And by the way, the early demo heard for Funny Game ends up becoming Yas Pop by YAS or Yaz, which is also produced by Merwiz.
If I was a hero, I'd be super pop. This is a funny game. Why don't you do the same?
The untitled track, also known as Fighting Spirit, now dropped. The added filters to Hung Up's vocals, and the new and toned down verses for Sorry. For Sorry, Warner advised Madonna to revise the verses that's distinguishable from its chorus after listening to its original demo back in February. And thank God they did. The final mix of Sorry is simpler in composition, with verses still in tune with the chorus, but doesn't feel like it's sharing the same intervals and tempo between the two. I have no idea what that means, but let's go with it. Future Lovers, Get Together, Like It or Not, and How High are all new tracks. And I say new only if you compare their inclusion to the demo CD back in February. Between June to October, the whole team made their final assessment for the final mix of the album before its planned launch in November, with a goal of making the whole album sound like a non-stop dance record. Here are the notable updates. History and Super Pop are to be dropped due to how both lyrically sounds close to the themes shared in American life, which is apparent since both tracks were made during the Reinvention tour. I Love New York is kept, however, despite it also sounding like it belonged to American life since it was written during the Reinvention tour. Madonna has expressed a number of times how I Love New York was her favorite from the entire album.
But do you have a current favorite track on the record? Or?
I Love New York.
Yeah.
I'm not just saying that, okay?
So this could have been a protest from Madonna to keep the track. With 2 tracks dropped, a replacement is needed. Isaac ends up being that replacement, given the track is less political than the other 2. 2 tracks share the same bass line of Moroder's I Feel Love. Those tracks are Future Lovers and Get Together. To avoid criticisms over using the sample twice in the album, 1 track had to be refined. Merwez gets to keep his track Future Lovers untouched, while Bag & Pierce's Get Together needs to be remixed. Now, it's unclear if Bag & Pierce agreed to the requested revision, but Stuart steps in to take over the remixing. This is where he goes back to his early remixes for Madonna, specifically Holiday from the Drowned World Tour, and uses the same sampling of Stardust's Music Sounds Better With You, which also interpolates Chaka Khan's Fate. New verses have also been added along with new vocals from Madonna that's recorded at Stuart's flat. Phew! Alright, that's it. We have to move on from here because the video is already too long. By June 7th, Madonna launches her 5th children's album, Lotta da Cascia. The launch party was held at Bergdorf Goodman in New York. In attendance was MTV's TRL host Damien Fahey. Damien interviewed Madonna and inquired about the upcoming album. She further confirmed her producer's involvement along with the direction of the new album. This time, it's all dance, no ballads. Despite her ongoing battle with Warner about the rights to Maverick Records, she still had to please head honchos Edgar Bronfman, Tom Whaley, and Lear Cohen of Warner Music and solidify a release date for the album and the singles to promote. I'm going to put an asterisk on this as we'll come back to talk about this group later, especially Edgar Bronfman. Trust me on this as you may see this album differently after.
By the end of the month, news has spread that Madonna has sampled ABBA, a rare occasion since the Swedish pop group is known to have a firm and strong hold when licensing their music.
Madonna is the second artist to gain approval to sample an ABBA song, The Fugees being the first. By July 2nd, Madonna performs for Live 8, sits down with John Norris after her performance for a brief interview, and reveals this.
You mentioned you've been in the studio. The status of the new record, it's going to be out in the fall, I understand?
Yeah, that's the idea, hopefully, yeah.
And more dance-oriented?
Yes, it's called Confessions on a Dance Floor.
Hello everyone, it's Sergio. If you have reached this part of the video, thank you so much for watching from beginning to end. I promise you there is part 2, and if you haven't done so yet, please like, comment, and subscribe to my channel. There's more Madonna content coming up. If you are craving for more Madonna content, I do have them available on my channel, so go ahead and watch those. The Style Behind Confessions has contributions from Madonna outfits, so thank you to him. I'd like to thank the Veronica Files who have contributed to this video that you just watched. So thank you so much from him. He did provide some rare interviews I actually haven't seen and I've been searching for the longest time. So thank you again. Their handles are available in my description. They're worth to follow since they do provide some rare and amazing insights about Madonna. So thank you again for watching and I will see you in the next video.